if you're doing the correct form.
I didn't learn narrative or I learned expository, but I only learned expository and argument.
It's because you're with me now. We're going to do it all. Alright? So, remember, how do we get, because I'm still getting emails on not understanding our next assignments. You click modules on the left, and then you scroll down to the week we're on, okay? February 4 through 8, I click it. I go down to Wednesday. Okay, Johnny, turn the computer either all the way towards me or to the side. Okay. We took our vocab quiz. Now we're going to introduce our essay prompt in expository writing. So you should absolutely not be on your computer at all unless you're taking notes, okay? Because if you do not feel comfortable with essay writing, we're going to go over it and we're going to learn today. Okay? What? Johnny, I do not want you on the computer at all. That's going to come here so I can have a better idea, okay? Just because we love music so much that we're distracted. Just like I love music so much that I often get distracted. Okay? Alright! Oh, so sorry, Faith. Faith's like, I don't know what you're doing! Ooh. Okay, expository writing. We went over it. It's how we inform or persuade an audience on the topic. Okay? Alright, purpose, inform or explain. Listen to me. This is your chance. All those times you yelled in class and I didn't pay attention, you screaming at me. This is your opportunity. Okay? You're going to inform me about something. Alright. Essay prompts. So follow along with me as I read this. This is what I'm asking you to do in your essay. Okay? And then we'll go over how to actually do it. Over the course of the past couple of weeks, we have been analyzing texts that deal with one thing: culture and conflict. Whether reading about the partition in India, interracial marriage, civil rights, or Japanese internment camps in World War II America, all of these texts are examples of how different cultures, in failing to understand another culture, can create conflict. In an expository essay where you inform or explain, your job is to write a well-written response to the following prompt. To what extent is it important and necessary for us to understand one another's cultures? You must use textual evidence from at least two of the texts, literary or nonfiction text we read, to support your response. You may also use personal experiences in your response. Make sure to write your essay in MLA format, which we'll also go over. Okay? So, what am I asking you to do in this essay? What do it? Write an essay. We'll start there. Accurate. What else? What's the main question I want you to answer in this essay? Faith?
To what extent is it important and necessary for us to understand one another's culture?
Yes. Okay? It's underlined for a reason, right? I gave you guys a big clue there. So in your essay, you're going to be answering, why is it important and necessary for us to understand one another's culture? You will also use quotes and textual evidence from the text that we have read to support your opinion. Does that make sense where we're at? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs middle. I know what this is asking you to do. I might not know how to do it yet, but we're good. Okay, Charles, are you even typing? I feel like you're screaming with me. Okay, I have this on Canvas as well for you guys to see. Okay.
So I can pretty much copy that. So typing.
Yeah, but typing better practice than
Charles' goal in life has just become the world's fastest typer. So, you good, Charles? So there, you got it. Okay.
I ain't joking.
So, Tony, can you turn around and on that poster it says intro? There are 3 elements to the introductory paragraph. What are they? They're in orange. Okay. So within our expository writing, we have a hook, a background information, and a thesis statement. Okay. The one that's absolutely the most important is what? No. The thesis statement, okay? Look at me, children. You will not be seniors in high school and not know how to write a thesis statement, okay? We're going to get real good at it.
That sounds like a challenge.
It is a challenge. Yes, Tony. But for educational purposes, the thesis is absolutely
Because we
necessary.
have to read everything in
Okay.
this.
No, that's not true. I give you choices sometimes. Just wait. All right, intro paragraph. So So this is the way that I visualize it so it can help you guys better understand it. Okay, think of it as like an upside down triangle. The first part is the hook. Okay, how do I grab your attention sometimes if I need you to listen to me?
Yell at us.
I yell at you. Okay.
You too.
You say, Caleb, focus.
Okay. So Caleb, focus. I'm doing something. Okay. Sometimes I make a joke. Sometimes I yell at someone.
Or you tell us.
Sometimes I trip, which is often, right? So there's something that happens in order to get your attention, or else I give me your eyeballs. Okay. Same thing with your essay. Your first sentence or 2 sentences or 3 sentences of your intro paragraph is the attention getter. Okay. How are you going to hook your reader in, like figuratively, like hook your reader in, pull them in, and get them interested in your essay? Okay.
You can just use an actual hook.
All right. Think about it this way. I have to read 30 essays. Okay. How are you going to grab me in and make me want to read your essay more than someone else? Think of it that way. Okay?
So,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like clickbait.
Yes. That's what clickbait is. It's the hook, okay, of their story, because they don't have an essay, right? It's a blog or an article. All right. Background information. This is the second part of your intro paragraph. So we're really wide at the top, right? We have a hook. It's pretty basic. Then we get a little more narrow. This is the background information. So it narrows the topic down even further, provides background on the culture clashing in history, okay? So for example, if you're going to answer this question, to what extent is it important that we understand another's culture, you might need to provide the reader some background information on why the heck you're even answering this question, okay? So maybe you research something on wars in history between religions or between cultures, or in America, some examples. Or you just get background information on the text that you're going to use in your essay, okay? So if you're going to quote At Dusk, maybe you provide some background information on that poem and the author. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, we're at the tip of the triangle. Thesis statement, yay! Woo! The thesis statement is the roadmap for your essay, okay? Look at me when I tell you this. If you've ever been taught a thesis statement differently, this is the right way, I promise you. Okay? The thesis statement is exactly what you will be answering in your essay. Okay? So, you're answering the question, is it important and necessary for us to understand someone else's culture? Okay? Your thesis statement is the answer to that question, as well as your main topics in your body paragraphs. Okay? So, yes, it is important. No, it is not important. Something like that. Because why? What will you be talking about in your essay? So, that's either kind of hard to develop at the beginning, unless you think about where you're going in your essay, right? So, if I'm answering, someone give me something they like strongly believe in, or a hobby, or something they really like to do.
Second.
Watching Supernatural.
Oh, okay. So, second, that's a good one. Okay, Caleb, you are pro Second Amendment, right? Gun rights. All right. So you would say, if I asked you, Caleb, to what extent is the Second Amendment an inalienable right for United States citizens? How would you answer that?
I would say that, well, we have the right to bear arms.
Okay, so first you would say, yes, it is an inalienable right. Then you say, because.
Because we have the right to bear arms.
Okay, so that'd be your first body paragraph, right? You discussed that. What's your second?
And the second would be why it's important to bear arms.
Okay, and third?
Third,
Another reason why it's important, why it's an inalienable right.
Defend the Second Amendment.
Okay.
Something like that.
So do you see how he gave me his stance and then the evidence to back that up? That's your thesis. That's it. Yeah.
Isn't thesis and expository like quite similar?
So you will have a thesis statement for an argumentative or an expository essay.
Yeah.
So the thesis is your answer to the prompt. So an expository essay is just explaining, right? The thesis is basically laying out what you're going to explain to me.
Okay.
So it gives me direction, because if you give me an essay and you're kind of all over the place, I don't know where your stance is. But if you provide me a thesis statement, then I know where you're going, and I can detail how organized you are in your argument. Got it? Okay, how do we feel with the intro paragraph? I kind of understand the format. Thumbs up, thumbs
Wait,
down,
that's the
thumbs
intro
down.
paragraph?
That's how you would format it. Yes. That's it.
That's
Oh, did you think this was the entire essay?
Yeah,
What? Nope. Okay, thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down. I think I can figure this out with a little more guidance. Okay, cool. Alright, thesis statement, the roadmap to your essay. We talked about this. Tells the reader what you're going to talk about in your essay. Alright? So, who likes to talk in here? Elijah? Oh my gosh, okay. So, instead of just rambling, right, Elijah, your thesis statement is basically, Esther's like, ha ha! Okay. Instead of just rambling about something, the thesis statement kind of requires you to think about where you're going to go with your thought. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's be nice to your friend. Makes a clear statement about the topic of the essay and responds to the essay prompt. Okay, this is where you give your opinion and then the evidence that you will back it up by. All right, body paragraphs. Okay, so if you look back at the poster, I feel like that's a really clear visual on how you would lay it out. That's why I keep referring back to that. Okay, your body paragraphs are where you are backing up your stance. Okay, so yes or no. So to what extent is it necessary to understand this culture? It's not very necessary. Some of you might say that. It's not very necessary to understand someone's culture because, reason one. Okay, that's your body paragraph. So let's go back to Caleb's stance. He said the Second Amendment is an inalienable right because, what was the first thing?
Because the first was the Constitution.
Okay, it's a constitutional right. All right? So this is where you're going to give your topic sense and your reason for the claim. So here's where I might say the Second Amendment is an inalienable right because it is guaranteed in the Constitution. Okay? Now I'm going to get to my evidence. This is where I'm going to go to my text and I'm going to pull a quote that supports what I'm saying. That's important because in today's world, people like to list off opinions without having facts to base it off of, right? Okay. We want to be able to back up what we're saying. Evidence, that's the quotes. Then your explanation. This is the most important part of the essay. Everyone focus on this part, okay? This is crucial. You did not come up with that quote, correct? No, you found it. Now it's your job to explain how your evidence and quotes supports your main idea, okay? So Caleb would go research a bunch of information on the Constitution and the Second Amendment, and then he would explain why that supports his statement, okay? That should be several sentences long, all right? And then conclusion. This is just your last sentence in that paragraph. How are you going to wrap up that thought, okay? Does that make sense how we lay it out? Kind of like a cheeseburger. You have your buns, your meat, and then your cheese.
So the meat is the most important part.
The meat is the most important part. That's your explanation and your evidence. Okay, the meat and the cheese. Yes, Tony? Well, the top one is always bigger. It's round, right?
Yeah.
I got this. Okay, so minimum is a 5-paragraph essay. So how many body paragraphs would you have?
I
Okay.
learned this.
And you can
That one I actually.
You can 100% do more than 3. I would applaud you to do more than 3 because it makes your statement stronger. Tony.
No, it's 3.
We did say 5.
5.
3 main body paragraphs is what we were saying. Okay. Malachi.
Would you give me extra credit if I did something I didn't agree with?
No, but it would be more difficult for you. Okay. All right. Can I have a thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down on how this is laid out? How a body paragraph is organized? Emma? Oh, I thought you were going to say. All right.
Oh, there it is.
There it is, guys. That was not my original idea. I don't know if you guessed that.
Did you draw?
Good. Okay. Introduction, the grabber, the thesis. Then we have a transition. Do you guys understand what transitions are? All right. For someone who doesn't know what a transition is, those are words that help lead into the following paragraphs. Okay. Okay, Johnny, close the computer. Completely. All right. So transitions might be like first, next, okay, in the following text, in the quote, this proves, this explains that, things like that in order to connect your different elements, okay? You have all of your reasons and then your conclusion. So this is where you restate the prompt in your 3 reasons and add a takeaway ending, all right? General reminders about writing expository essays. You need an objective tone. Remember how we learned the word subjective? Objective is the opposite. Okay? Objective is not really having a base in that. So, who has multiple siblings? Okay? Do your parents have a favorite?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know who the favorite is, but they won't admit it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, me too. My brother's the favorite by far. Actually, the dog is more of a favorite than I am. Okay?
I know for a fact I'm the least favorite.
Same. So, your parents are trying to be objective by saying that they don't have a favorite. Okay? Objective means you don't have a stance in this. So, if Caleb was writing a paper on why the Second Amendment is an inalienable right for United States citizens, his opinion would not be able to shine through. It needs to be factual and evidence-based. Okay? No personal pronouns. If you say, I think that, my head will explode. Okay?
So is I think that and will we continue to not ever do.
So think about that. Give me an opinion, Elijah. I think that's something.
I think that cows are brown.
Okay, I think that cows are brown. Now take off I think that and say the rest of the sentence.
Cows are brown.
Okay, which one is more factual and which one is more opinion-based?
What if I said I think cows are blue?
Doesn't
And
matter.
I took off the
If you say cows are blue, you have to prove it. You could say anything. You have to prove it with textual evidence.
So
And you're weirdly colorblind.
Does that make sense, though? When you say I think something, it makes your argument weaker.
So no opinion.
No opinions.
could you
Your opinion is in here, but instead of saying, in my opinion, or I think that, you're just presenting it as facts. Because you're going to be backing it up. Okay?
I do that as well.
Yeah.
But you can use like personal examples to that.
Yes, in that case, that's fine. I'm more talking about putting your opinion into your argument or making it into your, because it just makes it look weaker. Yes.
That's figure language I did today or
Tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. Stay with me, Charles. Okay. Yes. 3, cite properly in-text citations, and we're excited. We're going to go over that. Okay, don't panic. Basically, if you're going to use a quote, you need to cite it because it's not your work. Stealing. Intellectual theft. If you watched The Sick of Vegan last night, Trump talked about that. Okay? 4, use transitions to introduce new concepts. So use words like first, in the next quote. Okay, use things to introduce new parts. In summary. And 5th, no slang. Guys, gonna is not a word. It is going to.
Really?
Made shorter. Yes.
what would it be okay if it was in someone's dialogue?
Yeah, but you're not writing it.
Are you gonna take our
I'm
grade
just
down
wondering.
or put it in there?
Huh?
Are you gonna take our grade down?
You can do it
Yes.
as a quote.
You have a grammar portion of your grade.
Are you gonna?
Yeah, but
Are
we
you
can use it
gonna?
in a quote.
Who
We can use it in a quote though.
Yes, quotes are fine because that's not your word. But remember, you are objective and you are professional in your tone. Okay?
Are we,
I doth have fed.
I don't have a night!
I'm taking the entire essay, writing it in Old English.
Please. Alright. So if we go back to your modules, the next it says review sample essay and conduct highlight analysis. For people at home who are listening, this is what you have to do at home. Okay? So be thankful you guys came to class today.
oh, so
You can spend time with me.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay?
I was gonna stay
Thank
home.
you to come to this class.
I would give up anything Caleb
I
says.
was actually very excited.
See, Johnny knows.
Oh, I was reading seriously.
Oh, were you? Okay,
I doth.
let's look at these. Let's look at the sample essay, okay? Look at how it's laid out, first of all. This is called MLA format, okay? So you need your name right here at the top. Oh, goodness. Okay, this is Jody McNamara. I don't know how that name came to mind.
Why don't you just put Smith?
I
No, it's Jody and
Bob
Smith.
I don't know.
Why didn't you just
Okay,
Bob Smith.
next.
Johnson.
Oh, wait.
isn't that
Johnny. Girls. Okay. Next, you put your teacher's name, aka moi. Then you put your class, English 1 or Advanced English 1. Lastly, you put the date, and it is in that format. Okay, it goes day, month, year.
I put Juan.
Sure. Okay. You absolutely need a title. It needs to be original. Okay. So at the top of your essay, in the middle, you will have a title. Lastly, this is called a header. Does anyone not know how to make a header?
Ooh, I.
Okay, do you know how to add the page number?
Oh, I thought you said
We learned that in ICT.
Good. Okay. So on a Google Doc, Elijah. Okay. On a Google Doc, you just double click at the top and you can write your name. Now to add the page number, here's how you do it. Insert. Everyone with me? Header and page number. Page number. Wow.
Can I say
I already have
Can I
it.
say something?
Yes.
You do that so much easier than Mr. Madison does. It takes him 5 minutes to tell us that. Literally, it
Yeah,
is.
so like-
Guys, this is recording. This is
Like-
blasphemy.
He'll tell us why the line that says first page header is gray.
So the footer's at the bottom. No, not for Emily format. I do it like on your guys' packets sometimes to put pages so that you guys know what page
It's
you're
just
on.
like whenever I try and add a header, it says like add a footer, and I'm like,
Oh, that's what it
I
is.
know Matt's employing
Okay.
us in this class, right?
All right, stay back with me. Okay. So when you guys enter that page number, it automatically populates for every page that you make. Okay, does that make sense? It's also, just like we talked about those 3 essays, writing in MLA format is a state and federal government standard that you know how to do as a freshman and sophomore. Okay? So, let's get into our intro paragraph. What are the 3 elements of the intro paragraph again? Anybody? Okay. Hook. Thesis statement. Good. So we have a hook, background information, and thesis statement. Okay? So let's read the intro paragraph right now together. Alright? Culture can be defined as the achievements of a collective group of people. But why is it important to discuss or even know about? In the following texts, including Harlem by Langston Hughes, At Dusk by Natasha Trethewey, and A Farewell to Manzanar by Jean Wadasuki Houston and James D. Houston, all 3 have eerily similar themes, a clash of culture. Therefore, it is both extremely important to discuss and know about one another's cultures so that we do not oppress certain groups of people, express prejudice, or take away the rights of a certain group of people just because we don't understand their culture. Okay? Intro paragraph, done. Now, here's the important part, okay? I don't know if I can write on this. Oh, I can. Sweet. Okay. We are going to highlight the hook. Okay, where would the hook be? If you don't have a highlighter, does anyone not have a highlighter?
half of those don't work.
I know. Feeling crushed. Alright, does everyone have a highlighter now?
Oh, wait, what? Oh, shoot.
Is the
Can
hook
I just underline?
will pretty defined in the first sentence?
Okay.
Don't see. Can I
Yeah,
just underline?
you can. Alright. Tessa Schroeder, what is the hook? Okay, so the first sentence, yes. Oh, goodness. Okay. Is there more to the hook now? Or is it just that first sentence? Daniel? Okay, all the way up to the question mark. True. Okay, so there's our hook. Tony, do you be doing this? Okay. That's why I gave you that packet, remember? So culture can be defined as the achievements of a collective group of people. So I hooked you in by giving you a definition of what culture is. Okay? Now I'm asking you a question, but why is it important to discuss or even know about? Why is it important to talk about culture? Okay? I know I did. It's okay. Typos, right? Oh, Johnny. Okay? Now, what comes next? Tessa? Background info, okay? Now, either highlight in a different color or underline, okay?
What was pink of this one?
information. Do tell.
The following text.
Hold on, people are being rude. Emma, Johnny. Malachi, go ahead.
The following text includes problems, smiling, using test, under conflict, and role in the all three have really similar themes of clashing with.
Perfect. Okay. Do you see how my background information gives me some context on where there's this clash of culture? Okay. So depending on the text that you guys choose to use as your evidence, you might have some different background information. Okay. I don't think I need to say this, but your essay should not look anything like this nature, right? Okay, I don't think I have to say that. All right. Lastly, just put a star by this one. Okay. Where's the thesis statements? Elijah.
Ooh, extremely important to discuss and know about another's cultures who do not oppress certain groups of people.
Okay. Keep going.
Express prejudice or take away the rights of a certain group of people just because we don't understand their culture.
Good. Okay. Now remember, a thesis has two parts. Emma, what are the two parts of the thesis?
Your answer
Yes.
to the prompt and why.
Yes. Okay. So therefore, it is both extremely important to discuss and know about one another's cultures. There's my answer. Okay. It is extremely important to talk about one another's cultures. Now, here comes my three main points in my body paragraph. Okay. So that we do not oppress certain groups of people. That's going to be my first body paragraph. Express prejudice or take away the rights of a certain group of people just because we don't understand their culture. Okay? Oh, sorry. Express prejudice would be my second. And three, or take away the rights of a certain group of people just because we don't understand their culture. Okay? So from your thesis statement, I should clearly know what each of your body paragraphs are going to be about. Does that make sense? That's why it's the roadmap to your essay. Okay? So in this first body paragraph, I'm going to talk about the first point, which is that we do not oppress certain groups of people. Are you with me? Thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down. Okay. Elijah, where are you? Where are you getting stuck?
I'm not very good at English.
No, that's not true. Not at all. Tell me where you're stuck. Or where you're stuck at.
I understand, I just don't understand.
Okay, let's keep going and we'll see if we can get through it. Okay? Alright. Can I remove this text? Are we all good? Okay. So you should have annotated your document just like mine. Okay, maybe different colors.
Do we have to do it exactly how you do it?
Yes. Well, unless you did it underline. So just gonna start here. That is the new friend. Okay? Alright.
I have a question.
Yes, Dina.
I'm annotating the Google Docs.
Yes.
Highlighting comments, star.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay?
Let's just open it up here.
Alright, here's our first body paragraph. So remember, if we go back up to our thesis statement, we know it's going to be about why it's important to talk about culture so that we do not oppress certain groups of people. Okay? Alright, stay with me. First of all, there's a transition. It's very important to be aware of other people's cultures because it's too easy to oppress certain groups if we fail to understand their backgrounds or where they come from. For example, in Harlem by Langston Hughes, the author describes his hopes and dreams. Here's my textual evidence. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? And then I cited the author. We'll get to that later. In this piece of poetry, Hughes is an African American in 1920s America. Without equality that we have today, Hughes describes how his dreams are deferred, meaning that because of his race, he has to postpone and put off any dreams that he has for himself. Thinking that maybe it just sags like a heavy load when referring to his dreams, America's failure to understand the African American culture and has certifiably stopped him from being able to achieve his hopes and dreams. Therefore, this proves how important it is for us to understand one another's culture because without it, we can easily stand in the way of one another's goals in life. Okay? Body paragraph down. Now let's annotate. Okay, what's the first part of a body paragraph? Topic sentence. Okay, Charles, where's the topic sentence? Okay, looking for it. Where's the topic sentence? Oh, here, you just take a pocket. Okay, just look at it. What's the topic sentence? First paragraph. Body paragraph.
First of all,
Okay.
read it.
Yep.
First of all, it's very important to be aware of other people's culture because it's easy to express certain groups if you fail to understand the background of where they're coming from.
Okay, is it the topic sentence? Yes. Okay, so let's highlight that, please.
Isn't the topic sentence also the transition?
Yes. Well, it's a transition plus the topic sentence. So something like first of all or first. You have some sort of transition where to get into the main body paragraph. Yes, Tony. It could be more than one sentence. Your topic sentences, like the introduction to your topic, could be more than one sentence. There's no formula like that where it has to be one sentence, one sentence, one sentence. Does that make sense? I'm not going to put you in a box like that. Okay? All right, what comes next after my topic sentence, after introducing my first main idea? Johnny, what's the next aspect of the body paragraph? Look at the poster from home. Okay, main idea number one, and we had, if we look, it says, first topic that supports thesis, so we have these supporting details, evidence, elaboration, and examples, okay? So now comes my evidence, all right? So if you don't have another highlighter, just go ahead and underline this. Okay, where is it, Johnny? Where is my evidence, my first piece of evidence? Okay, keep going.
In Harlem by Langston Hughes, the author describes his hopes and dreams.
Keep going.
What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun?
Good. Okay, is the next part still evidence, or are we going to explanation? Okay. All right, Kaylin. Tell me where my explanation is. Put a star by it. Okay, where do I explain how the quote proves my claim or my main reason? Oh, Charles, are you okay, bud?
Yeah.
Why? Oh, just like highlighting it.
Look, I did it right.
I don't know how you did that.
All right, Kaylin, where is the explanation of how my quote proves my point?
Without equality that we have today,
That's part of it.
in this piece of poetry,
Okay.
is it that?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. I wouldn't. Okay. In this piece of poetry, Hughes is an African American man in 1920s America without equality that we have today. Hughes describes it with his dreams are deferred, meaning that because of his race, he has to postpone and put off any dreams that he has for.
Good. Okay. So, do you guys see how that explanation is giving more feedback on the quote? So the quote was just, for example, in Harlem by Langston Hughes, the author describes his hopes and dreams. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? I don't just leave it at that and say, this quote proves my point. I got to explain how that quote fits into my argument, into my main point. Okay? So I've explained that in this piece of poetry, because he is black, his culture has not allowed him to achieve his goals. Okay? And remember, I'm trying to argue here because it's too easy to oppress certain groups if we don't know their backgrounds. Does that fit in with it, what my main point was? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. All right, Belle, what comes next? What's the next aspect in this sample paragraph? Okay, however, do I have the conclusion next or do I have more evidence? Okay, so I'm going to go back to my yellow highlighter. So you should go back to your highlighter if you've highlighted and underlined. Where's my evidence, Belle? Or where does it start? So thinking that maybe it sags like a heavy load when referring to his dreams. Okay? So now I've given more evidence. So do you see how I'm going evidence, explanation, evidence, explanation? That's perfectly fine. You do not have to only use one quote. Elijah, what did I just say?
Evidence, explanation,
Okay.
I'm highlighting.
No, I was just seeing if you were paying attention. Okay? Daniel. Going on?
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone super lost or is this helping? Okay. Alright. What comes after that evidence again? Sheridan, what comes after evidence? Explanation. Okay? So now I'm going to go back to my other colored highlighter or my underline. Now I'm going to highlight where my explanation is, okay, and that's here. So I just said maybe, thinking that maybe it just acts like a heavy load and referring to his dreams. Now I'm going to explain how that proves my point, that it's dangerous because it could oppress certain people. That's not what I wanted. America's failure to understand the African American culture and how certifiably stopped him from being able to achieve his dreams. Okay? I'm going to leave it there while we're highlighting. And then I'm going to move on. So now I'm explaining how this quote proves my point. Can I erase? Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Hopes and dreams. Alright. What comes after evidence and explanation, even if you do more than once? Daniel, what comes after evidence and explanation? Concluding sentence. Okay, this is where you should wrap up all of your thoughts on this topic. So therefore, this proves how important it is for us to understand one another's culture, because without it, we can easily stand in the way of one another's goals in life. Okay? Star by it. Put a star by the concluding sentence. Okay? So in order to prove my point that we need to talk about one another's cultures so we don't oppress a certain group, I've talked about Harlem and how because he was black, and only because he was black, he couldn't achieve his goals. Okay? How do we feel? Thumbs up if we feel good. I know what's going on here. Thumbs down if I have no clue what you're talking about. Miss it. Hit me with it. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs middle. Okay, Faith, where do we need some help? Okay. Yes. Point, which if I go back up to my thesis, Esther, what's my second main point? Yeah, point. What's the second main point I'm going to be talking about here?
Expressing prejudice.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about how if we don't understand one another's culture, then we can easily express prejudice. Okay? So I know what this is going to be about. Alright, Malachi. Where's the topic sentence or sentences? Oh, sorry, let's read. That might be helpful. Okay? Body paragraph number 2. Next. Transition. It's important to know about one another's culture so that we are not prejudiced of other people. If we don't understand the culture of someone else, it's easy to both misinterpret their background or develop unconceived prejudices. In At Dusk by Natasha Trethewey, the author writes about a neighbor losing her cat as a metaphor. She's given up calling for now to imagine her inside the house waiting, perhaps in the chair or in front of the TV or walking around doing small tasks. In this quote, the author compares her own experience of being a biracial woman to the lonely experience of a woman calling her missing cat. Here, we can see that the speaker feels the loneliness of the woman. One could argue that the author feels a sense of loneliness due to her background as a biracial woman and being pulled between two different cultures. The speaker even mentions that she wants to call someone home that points out the extreme loneliness of yearning for a place to call home. Having any sort of prejudice against someone that is different than us, whether it be skin or culture, color, so it's supposed to be skin color, can be damaging. If we always lead with what we think we know about someone, we'll never be able to understand what they may actually be going through in life. If this speaker were brave enough, maybe he or she would cross those lines and get to know their neighbor for who they are. Okay? So if you understand how this now is it's kind of switched. Now we're talking about how not knowing about one another's culture could cause us to express prejudice. Okay? All right. Who did like Malachi? Where's the intro topic sentence or sentences?
Next is important to know about one author's culture so that we are not prejudiced of other people. If we don't understand the culture of someone else, it's
Easy.
the culture of someone else, it's easy to both misinterpret their background and develop inconceived prejudices.
Good. Okay. So highlight that. That is your topic sentence. Some topic sentences, I'm sorry. Okay? Tony, do it. Okay? What comes after the topic sentence? That's in the intro. Doesn't it? Evidence, okay? So, John, you're thinking of the intro paragraph? Remember, with the body paragraphs, you introduce your claim, the first reason, the reason that you're supporting your opinion, which is in your topic sentence, and then you get into your evidence, okay? Charles, where's my evidence? So you're either going to underline now, or you're going to highlight in a different color.
At dusk.
Yeah. Yeah.
At dusk by Natasha Trethewey, the author writes about a neighbor losing her cat in a metaphor. She's giving up calling for now to imagine her inside the house waiting, perhaps in a chair in front of the TV, or walking around doing small tasks.
Okay, is that it? Yes? Okay. Emma.
Yes.
Where is my explanation? What points from where to where?
In this quote, the author compares her own experiences of being a biracial woman to the lonely experience of a woman calling her missing cat. Here we can see that the speaker feels loneliness for one. One can argue that the author feels this sense of loneliness due to her background as a biracial woman and being told between two different cultures.
Okay, good. So we're going to put a star by the explanation. So here, the writer has explained this quote and how it's talking about how we could express prejudice if we don't know one another's culture. Okay? Remember, the explanation of the quote is the most important. So how does this quote prove my point that it's important to talk about one another's culture? Okay? All right. Do I go into my concluding sentence yet, or do I go back into evidence? Tony? Okay, go back into evidence. So now I'm going to go to my original highlighter. Okay? All right, Tony, from where to where? Where's my evidence? Okay. The speaker even mentions that she wants to call someone home. Okay? There's more evidence. All right? I've already talked about it. Now I'm going back to it. All right? What comes after evidence? Elijah.
After evidence, we have the green thing.
Explanation. Okay. Elijah, what are we doing in the explanation?
Explaining.
Explaining what?
Just, right. We're explaining the yellow. No, explaining the topic sentence.
No, you're explaining how your quote or your textual evidence proves your claim. So how does this quote prove that it's important to know about one another's culture so that we are not prejudiced of other people? Okay? That's what that quote is doing. Now I'm going to explain that. Okay? So the speaker even mentioned that she wants to call someone home. That points out the extreme loneliness of yearning for a place to call home. Having any sort of prejudice against someone who's different than us, whether it be skin color or culture, can be damaging. Okay? So now I'm continuing to explain how that quote proves my claim. Okay? Can I erase? Alright. Now let's move up. What comes after my explanation? Actually. Okay, Malachi. What comes after?
The
Okay, are we going, so starting here, if we always lead with what we think we know, is that continuing explanation or is that concluding? Is it still explaining how the quote proves the point? So the sentence that says, if we always lead with what we think we know about someone, we'll never be able to understand what they may actually be going through in life. Is that still explanation? What do you guys think?
Sure. Makes sense to me.
It's still explanation, okay? I'm still explaining how the quotes prove my point. So that's still going to be that same color or underline. All right.
Okay, so it's still the same. It's still explaining.
Yeah, this is still explaining. It's still explaining about why prejudice is dangerous. Johnny. Okay, where's my conclusion?
If the speaker would bring up, he or she would press those lines again.
Okay, now I've wrapped up my thoughts on that. Are we good? Okay. All right, I'm gonna erase here. All right, we're on to our last body paragraph. So if we go back up to our thesis, what should the third main point be, Caleb?
Or take away the rights of a certain group of people.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about how not knowing someone's culture, that could cause someone to have their rights taken away just because we're scared of them. Okay? So, third paragraph, stay with me. Lastly, there is a serious danger in not understanding a culture because of the potential to take away their human rights. Throughout history, it seems that a misunderstanding of culture can lead to dramatic and dangerous results. In the case of the Japanese internment camps in World War II, an entire group of Americans had their rights stolen away. In the excerpt of A Farewell to Manzanar, the author explains her questions behind the so-called wartime necessity. Why were no German Americans evacuated, it was asked, or Americans of Italian descent? Weren't these nations our enemies too? Due process had been violated, Korematsu claimed, along with other constitutional rights. But the Army's decision to evacuate was also upheld by the Supreme Court. The author points out how interesting it is that even though the United States was at war with Japan in World War II, the country was also at war with Germany and Italy. Yet, these American citizens were not evacuated away into internment camps. This quote points out just how important it is to understand another's culture. Japan's culture is far different from that of America, but citizens from Germany and Italy had more similarities to America, making them not as large of a threat. The text also says, we had all heard stories of Japanese homes being attacked, of beatings in the streets of California towns. They were as frightened of the Caucasians as Caucasians were of us. This is an example of how people in this time period saw each other through one thing, race. If they were to look past the outside and understand that just because they may have Japanese culture within them, that doesn't make them any less of an American. Therefore, we need to be cautious of cultural differences so that we don't make the same mistake again. Okay? I'm going to do this one for you guys, just so we have time. Okay? Topic sentence. I'm introducing my point here. Okay? So this is the introduction of what I'm going to be proving in this body paragraph. Okay? Lastly, there is a serious danger in not understanding a culture because of the potential to take away their human rights. Throughout history, it seems that a misunderstanding of culture can lead to dramatic and dangerous results. All right? In the case of the Japanese internment camps in World War II, an entire group of Americans had their rights stolen away. I have a little more intro here. That's fine. Okay? Are we clear how we're introducing the next claim? Okay? It's dangerous to not understand a culture because of the potential to take away their rights. Okay? I'm going to move this up really quick. Alright. After the intro and the introduction of the claim of this paragraph, I'm now going to get into my evidence. So either do your next highlighter color or underline. Okay? Elijah, you good? In the excerpt of A Farewell to Manzanar, the author explains her questions behind the so-called wartime necessity. Why were no German Americans evacuated, it was asked, or Americans of Italian descent? Weren't these nations our enemies too? Due process had been violated, Korematsu claims, along with other constitutional rights. But the Army's decision was evacuated was also upheld by the Supreme Court. Okay? Oh my gosh. You guys got that right. Okay? So now here's my quote. I'm giving an example of how just because they were Japanese, just because they were a different culture, their rights were taken away. Alright? After my evidence, I now get into explanation. Now I'm going to prove how my quote proves my claim, that it's dangerous to take away their rights if we have different cultures. Okay? Now I'm going to put my star next to my explanation. Okay? So that is from, the author points out how interesting it is that even though the United States was at war with Japan, the country was also at war with Germany and Italy. Yet these Americans were not evacuated away into internment camps. This quote points out just how important it is to understand another's culture. Japan's culture is far different from that of America. Elijah, something funny?
Yeah, he's not the star.
I tried to write a star where you told me to, and the computer.
I don't even want to know about it. Japan's culture is far different, but citizens from Germany and Italy have more similarities to America, making them not as large of a threat. Okay? Do you guys see how much explanation that is? I don't want one sentence or one line. Okay? Alright. Now I'm getting back into some more evidence. The text also says, going back to my original highlighter color. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm going back to my green. Wait. Yes, my green. Okay. The text also says, we had all heard stories of Japanese homes being attacked and beatings in the streets of California towns. They were frightened of the Caucasians as Caucasians were of us. Okay? So I've given my quote on how, just because of skin color, they're terrified of each other. Okay?
So is that the first color or the second color?
That's the second, because that's your quote, remember? The first color was the intro. Oh, okay. So, baby. Johnny, stay with me. Okay? So now I get into my explanation. How does the quote prove the point? Okay? This is an example of how people in this time period saw each other through one thing, race. If they were to look past the outside and understand that just because they may have Japanese culture within them, that doesn't make them any less of an American. Okay? More explanation. Put a star. I got this. I do. Good. Do you understand? Yes, you do. You got this. Okay, what's the last thing that comes in a body paragraph?
Ending
The conclusion. Yes, Elijah. Concluding sentence. Okay. Therefore, we need to be conscious of cultural differences so that we don't make this same mistake again. Okay? See, was there a formula to this?
Is it yellow's the first color?
Yeah, I'm mixing up the colors. It doesn't matter.
Wait. So the
You're
first.
fine, Elijah.
Wait.
I'm not going to be like, Elijah used pink hair and green hair.
Okay,
All right, concluding sentence. Okay? We're going to... What's up? Were you gonna critique my letter choice?
No.
Okay. So we haven't really gone over the conclusion yet, because we're gonna go over next week. But the conclusion, we have 3 main points: restate our thesis statement, summarize main ideas, and your final thought or call to action. Okay, so let's see if we can figure it out here. So Malachi, I'm gonna go with you. So yell at me to stop when you think I'm done restating my thesis. Okay. Please don't scream at me, but do it nicely. Okay. To conclude, culture has historically caused groups of people and individuals to clash and cause misunderstandings. When looking at Harlem, At Dusk, and A Farewell to Manzanar, all texts showcase how important it is to understand one another's culture, in particular.
We should have stopped at the first sentence.
Okay. Yes, Elijah, yellow. What if it's going to break down if I didn't use different color? Okay. So there's my thesis, right? It's mainly that if we don't know one of those cultures, it causes these clashings and misunderstandings. Okay? Johnny, what's next on the conclusion? Look at the poster.
Summarize main ideas.
Okay, Johnny, I'm going to keep reading until we want to stop. When looking at Harlem at dusk and A Farewell to Manzanar, all texts showcase how important it is to understand one another's culture, in particular cultures other than their own. Good job. Okay. So that should be in your second color, Elijah, or underline.
I'm doing experiment.
You're doing experiment. Okay.
This is not science class.
All right. Lastly, the final thought. I'll wait. The final thought or the call to action. Whether it affects someone's dream, prejudices lead us to define who someone is, or if it ultimately takes away someone's basic rights, failing to try to understand others' cultures creates both dangers and conflicts. Okay, Johnny.
You said ultimately it's
Life, you know. All right. So, how do we feel? Thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down. I get it. I don't get it. I still need a little bit more help. Okay, Charles is a solid, like, in between. Okay?
Have you ever seen like Gas's card? Like, this is.
Your gas is
the
hot.
gas station.
That means I don't understand.
Yes.
That's his card thing.
I'm gonna choose you.
Okay. So, in order to write your essay, you need to graph it out, right? So on the back side, you have a graphic organizer. Okay? You need to lay out your essay in this graphic organizer because we're going to start drafting tomorrow. Okay? So even if you don't have it all done by tomorrow, that's fine. We can do some of it in class. Charles.
I don't know what you put for main idea 2, but it's censoring it.
This is main idea too.
There.
I didn't got it, promise.
Are you sure?
Okay? Alright, I'll wait. Shh. Johnny, okay? On this graphic organizer, you are not legitimately writing a paragraph. You're just jotting some ideas of what your main ideas might be and what quotes you might use. Okay? Do you understand what you're doing? Alright.
So we have to have at least 3.
Yes.
And we have to do this tonight.
You're just laying out your idea. You can do it tomorrow too.
Oh.
In class. If you're going to be in
That's
class.
it.
Okay? So I'll be here to help you.
Yeah.
I will show us the work.
Awesome.
Okay? Alright, go ahead and pack up.
I love that.
Make sure you do your homework, okay?
No, that's 2 weeks. I love this. Oh, that was word of the
I'm gonna collect it. You just email it. That's fine.
I shall explore Spain.
Just share it with me. So go back to
Spain.
for sharing. And so this is the big one. Oh, no, shut up.
Ow!
I'm gonna check it out.
I'm angry.
I need to check on it.
Now let the sun go down here.
It's on board. And then I'll see.
Charles.
Okay.
Hey guys, if you have your theme bumper stickers, please give them to me. I'm just a question yesterday, but the snow gods had a different idea. Gods of snow?
It's not snow.
I don't know.
Just press send.
Flies had a different idea.